So often Maria Callas is depicted as a diva who threw legendary tantrums and was impossible to please. I've studied her intensely for over 3 years now, and once you see past the trash journalism that twists her image to this day, it's evident she wasn't like that at all. She just couldn't have had such a successful career if she'd been an absolute nightmare to work with, right? So today I want to bring out another side of her personality forward and show you why she must have actually been a very fun person to be around. I don't know about you, but at least I would have loved to hang out with her. So first, I'll show you a clip of what Callas says herself about having fun. Then we'll go through a couple of pictures of her having fun. And lastly, we'll discuss it a bit deeper, why her being a fun person and her having fun must have been a key aspect of her success. So here's a clip of a wonderful interview Callas gave in 1965 with the journalist Micheline Bonzé in French. It's almost an hour long, and it's just, I love the vibe in the whole interview, so I recommend you check it out if you understand French. This was right when Callas had moved to Paris quite recently, in 1964, I think, and she lived in the address Avenue Foch 44 temporarily, and if I remember correctly, Aristotle Onassis lived in the number 88 on the same street. But then a bit after this, Callas moved to her final home in 36 Avenue Georges Mondel. Just to give you the background story. But here's what Callas says about having fun.
J'aime rester seule, par exemple. Je dis une chose qui va étonner beaucoup du monde. J'aime regarder la télévision, j'aime voir des jolis films, j'aime voir les détectives, les westerns, comme tous les personnes humaines. Parce que ça me détend, parce qu'il y a le fond infantile de chacun. Moi, je l'ai et je ne le cache pas. Je suis même restée toute jeune à ça. Notre métier est très sérieux. Ça nous aide aussi, c'est drôle. Mais toute cette expérience nous aide avec notre carrière. Et puis, évidemment, je suis humaine comme tout le monde et j'aime me divertir avec des jolis spectacles, disons, pas lourds, pas dramatique tout le temps avec cette tragédie qu'on n'en peut plus.
Yes, I love that. And I love how well she speaks French, even though I did do a couple of grammar corrections here in the transcription. But still, she speaks very well. And here's the English version that you could follow along, as you probably did. So essentially, she's trying to signal to people listening to this French interview that she's a normal human being who loves to just, relax. So let's look at some other pictures that prove this too. Here, she's dying of laughter with, I think this is her colleague, Giulietta Simeonato, who was a mezzo-soprano. This was taken in 1957 when she visited the Venice Film Festival. I think she was invited there by the socialite Elsa Maxwell, who really liked Callas. And this is when Callas met Aristotle Onassis for the first time as well. But she was there with her husband, and these are just legendary pictures that we have the pleasure of seeing, even in this day. Yeah, so they're having fun, they're laughing about something, I don't know what, I would love to know what they laughed about. And here's another picture with the same Giulietta Simeonato here. I have no idea what they're eating, but nevertheless, it seems like a really fun moment they're having on the train. So clearly, they had the vibes in the opera companies she worked with. When the collaborators were as nice as she was, they must have had so much fun and laughed so much in during the productions. And sometimes even during performances. I remember Callas telling about this in some of her letters or memoirs somewhere. Here. So here, in her letters and memoirs, they're in French. I think they've been translated to some other languages as well, but I can't remember which. But here you get the idea of what kind of sense of humor she had. And she tells about these funny stories sometimes about what happened on stage or with whoever she happened to meet. Now, another reason why I think she must have been a fun person is that she loved dogs, and she had, I think, 4 dogs in total in her life. These are her first 2 dogs. Toy, there, a toy poodle, and Thea, a bit of a bigger poodle. And they had always these funny and fancy, what are they called? Their furs had been trimmed always in these fancy ways, as you would expect from an operatic star of that time. But yes, here we can see her playing with them, and they were always accompanying her on on her travels as well. Now we come to my personal favorite category of pictures of Callas. So pictures of her swimming. I love these. I can't remember if this dog is her dog Toy, or this is maybe her other dog, another dark toy poodle she had later on, who was called Pixie. And this one is her dog Jeddah, that she had also later on when her first poodles had died. So here she's snorkeling and she's trying to balance the dog on her back and on the same time. So I'd love to do that actually with a dog. It's a good idea. Here she's having fun in Monaco in 1965. I don't know who this is. If you know, tell me in the comments. This is just one of life's ultimate pleasures, right? If you have an air mattress and the water is warm and you can just, jump around in the water and enjoy summer. There's just something really cute about her, especially in this photo. She's ready for action, ready to just relax and have fun in the water. By the way, I just noticed this guy here, he looks a lot like Cruz Beckham for some reason. I mean, it's not him, but there's a resemblance, right? Interesting. And here, once again, the same business in Ischia, in the island of Ischia in 1957. She had an air mattress and a little boat where she's with her husband, Battista Meneghini, right there. He's not looking too enthusiastic about this, but Callas is having the time of her life. But this is really what having fun looks like, to me at least. And finally, here's a couple of pictures where Callas shows her true, authentic smile that's so magnetic and attractive. I mean, look at her. Very cute, very charismatic. This is the joy that really shines through in her work, for example, the passion that she had. And here she's actually playing with her dog. It's only recently that I even noticed that there's a dog here because it's so dark, the whole lower section of the photo. I don't think it's angry or anything. They're just playing with something, and Callas is enjoying this moment of chilling out in between performances. It must have actually helped her a lot that she had her dogs often with her, because I think it's been proven by science already that dogs have this grounding effect, that they mirror your emotions, and when you're with them and you can pat them and hug them, it gives a sense of comfort to you, and must have helped her with her high pressure career as well. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed those cute pictures just as much as I did. But now let's zoom out a bit. Why are these pictures so interesting? For me personally, the whole point is that I'm always curious to discover what are some of the underlying principles of excellence that are to be noticed in different fields and individuals. I want to find out what are the common denominators of an excellent piece of work, for example, or of people who achieve excellence but also remain somewhat mentally stable and content. That's what we want, right? By the way, if you find this intriguing too, I actually explore these principles of excellence in my newsletter, share my sources of inspiration and interdisciplinary and culturally nuanced observations around me. So I'd love to connect with you, and feel free to join the list from the link below. My hypothesis is that one of the traits of the best high quality accomplished people on this earth is that they know how to have wholesome fun in good amounts and not take themselves too seriously. It's maybe very obvious, but it's harder to execute, as we know. It's easier to say than to actually be that kind of a person. But as we looked at the photos, Maria Callas seems to fit the bill. At least in my world, she fits this ideal of mine, that a balanced, accomplished person has to also be a fun person to be around. But of course, this hypothesis can be questioned in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. But now let's go through 3 questions. 1, why is Callas often perceived as a not fun person? 2, why she seems like a fun person? And 3, why having fun and being a fun person contributed to her success. So why specifically these things? Let's go a bit deeper here. Why is she often perceived as a not fun person? Because she has a reputation as a temperamental, demanding, and self-obsessed diva, as we know. There have been a gazillion of exaggerated stories about walkouts on performances and feuds with opera houses. But in reality, she wasn't actually difficult in the bad sense of the word, but she had a perfectionistic character, i.e., she was committed to reaching excellence in her work. But then the counter argument to this is that, of course, maybe she is just too serious about her art to be lighthearted about anything. The press created this image of her as a tragic Greek mythical legend figure that doesn't allow for everyday fun. But of course, the most discerning audience members in that time saw past that and realized that Callas is actually a fun, normal person and didn't believe what the trash journalism said about her. Then another point that is, I think, quite fair is that she was so intelligent that maybe her intelligence could also make her seem a bit unapproachable and intimidating to some people. And then, of course, people could make the point of her having the astronomical success that she had in opera that could have alienated her from just enjoying a normal, simple life, which necessarily wasn't the case. Even though she led a jet-set life, she still enjoyed just a quiet life back home. But then to sum up this whole image of Callas, she did have a high social status, first and foremost, because of how successful she was. And then she had a glamorous lifestyle in elite circles, but it didn't mean necessarily that that was really her natural habitat either. And third, opera, as a category of music and performances, was perceived as a highbrow context. And it, to a certain degree, still it's perceived in that way. Even though originally, if we look at the history of opera, it actually was more of a form of popular music than anything else in the beginning. So all of these factors could have made the public be convinced that she's just too pretentious to have good fun. But now, as we saw in the pictures, why she seems like a fun person is that she had this genuine smile in candid photos. It wasn't all too polished. She didn't always look her best in every single picture. She also had a very relaxed body language in many pictures and many clips of what we've seen from videos of her, for example. And all in all, she seems confident enough to be silly and playful when the situation needs it or when she feels like it. And then also just the fact that she was having fun with her dogs and then swimming and everything. Also, it's been said that she loved to eat ice cream, for example, and she did attend concerts sometimes and opera premieres. So there were many leisurely activities that Callas enjoyed, even though she had this classic image of a star who isn't human at all. But now the third question: why having fun and being a fun person contributed to Callas' success? My first point is related to the element of collaboration and career longevity. So opera, if any of the art forms, is very much a team effort. It requires enormous amounts of collaborators, often between hundreds of people. So the fact that Callas had collaborators who wanted to work with her repeatedly goes to show that she must have known how to make others feel comfortable, how to be a good collaborator herself to others. You just can't sustain a long international career by being impossible. It's just a fact, because the industry would have frozen her out. Even though at the time, maybe, yes, the industry tolerated a bit more of some more hostile comportment, can we say, behavior. But still, to a certain extent, if you actually want to have a long career like Callas had, over 10 years, you have to be a relatively nice person. Then the second reason is just a pure matter of energy balance. Callas experienced so much pressure in her career, either from outside forces who tried to pressure her, or from inside her. She wanted to be so devoted to her art and do the best she can every single time. So that was a lot of pressure, but that must have been balanced out by having outlets for humor and lightness, to not be so serious all the time, like she said in the clip that we saw first. In her position, she had to know when to be on, full on, on the matter, for example on stage, and then when to decompress and relax, to balance the whole thing out. And most likely, she also understood that joy and humor, lightness, fuels creativity, not drains it. So now, summa summarum, if we can use some Latin here, what I want to keep reminding myself of when I strive for excellence in my work and life, personally, is that we can just be our own likable selves and have fun. This is just always what we want to hear as overachievers, especially. That actually the results are better also in the long run if we just relax and have fun with everything and use the 80-20 rule, for example, and not obsess over every single detail right until the last minute, but know when something is good enough to ship. Because the fact is that suffering takes you to a point. Suffering can take you to places. You can achieve a lot by just suffering through it, pushing through it. But if we don't incorporate some element of fun into it, into what we're doing, we won't reach true excellence. That's the hypothesis. At least we won't achieve effortless excellence, which is the ultimate goal, obviously, in everything. Yeah, so I guess those are my thoughts for now on this matter. And I'm guessing you'd like this next video as well, where I break down what we can learn from Callas's absolute funniest pictures. See you there. Bisous!